All right, so it's a little over a minute past the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you're at. Thanks for joining us today for the PDI Workforce Employee Self-Service webinar. Before we get started, just a few notes, housekeeping items, if you will. If you've got any questions throughout the webinar, please use the Q&A option at the bottom of Ring Central window to type those in. Or leave a message in the chat, whichever you prefer, and we'll do our best to leave some time at the end to be able to answer those questions. So again, feel free to type those questions in as you have them throughout the presentation, and then we'll get to those at the end. Also, the meeting is being recorded, so if you've got anyone who's not able to attend from your team, or you just want a second look at it after the fact, we're going to wrap this up and send it out at the end so you have access to the recording going forward. Okay, so with that being said, I think we're ready to go ahead and get started. So just a quick introduction. My name is Bryan Crandall. I manage our business development team and our inside sales team at PDI. I've been with the company for about 7 years now, and for a good portion of that time have worked closely with the workforce environment. So I'm happy to be here with you all today. And we've also got Martin Campos on the call. He actually leads our workforce product management team. And so he'll be the one taking us through the presentation. I'll let Martin go ahead and introduce himself before we get started. Martin?
Thank you, Bryan. Good afternoon. I'm Martin Campos, Product Manager of PDI Workforce. Been with PDI for almost 20 years. Today's webinar topic is Giving Your Workforce Transparency in a Time of Need. I'm excited to present PDI's newest member to the PDI Workforce product family, PDI Employee Self-Service, or as we like to affectionately call it, ESS. Welcome to all who have joined. I understand we have a mix of audience members. Some of you are new to PDI and probably to Workforce. Others are using Workforce and are anxious to begin offering ESS to your employees. Let's discuss what ESS is and what it brings to the table. ESS is a mobile app. You can see a picture of it there. It's employee-focused and allows our employees to view real-time data that's important to them. The ESS app may be downloaded to your mobile phone or tablet from Apple's App Store or the Google Play Store. Employees can view their weekly schedule, site schedules, their timesheets, their pay statements, among other features. I'll show you the app's current features and upcoming features as we progress. One last note, schedule change notifications. This is when a schedule change is published. A notification is sent to the employee via the app, so they can also see those. Before you, the list of key features. Do want to point out those without an asterisk are the current features. Those with an asterisk are future upcoming features. Let's do a quick review of the features. Schedule. This includes your schedule, which we call My Schedule, and site schedules, which is the schedule for the whole site. Timesheets, this is your current and past timesheets with the ability to sign them online. Time off, this is requesting time off, having it approved, and automatically including the time off on your timesheet. You can also look at time off balances. Pay statements, this is your current and past pay statements. It gives you a summary in a pie chart format. You can also view your full statement, and you can email the statement to yourself. Messages, this is a communication tool between co-workers and their managers. Employee directory, this is a contact listing of all employees by site. And then profile, this is your contact and emergency information, which you can keep up to date. Let's see what it takes to get started with employee self-service. Before we go through the 4 steps, I would like to remind you that you must already be using PDI Enterprise and PDI Workforce before proceeding with PDI Employee Self-Service. For most of you, that's a given, but I did want to mention it here in case you were not aware. Let's go ahead and review this. Getting started, the 4 steps, 4 easy steps. First, you must obtain a license. So you can speak to Brian or your salesperson to acquire one. Second, you must activate ESS in workforce configuration. There is a checkbox for that. Also, as part of this steps, PDI's tech services team will reach out to you and sign you up as a tenant. A tenant is a unique customer and server. This is also the step where all the magic happens to securely connect your workforce server to gateways that communicate to the mobile devices. Step 3, configure ESS. You do so with the admin portal. And we're not going to really go into too much detail on the admin portal. I mean, we're not going to have a screen to show you for that. But it is up in the cloud, and it allows you to configure multiple companies as employers. And within each of your companies, you can define your branding, for instance, like your logo, your branding colors for your store, for your site. You can also create messages, sign-in messages, and message templates. Message templates, one of them being the invite. So you can customize how that invite message is going to look like. Step 4 is the rollout. The rollout consists of employee invitations and registrations, which we'll discuss next. Registration also has 4 easy steps. Step 1 is the notification. In Workforce, you have Workforce Employee Mass Maintenance, which allows you to send notifications to all your employees. Once you've sent the invitations out, the invitation includes the employee ID and the employer activation code. The employee activation code is set up in that admin portal that we discussed earlier. Once they have that information, they can download the app. They go to their favorite store, download the app to either their phone, their iPad, whatever tablet they might have. Step 3 is self-registration process, of which you see on the screen. The registration process works like other apps of this kind. In this case here, this one here might be hard to read, but that's the employer activation code, which came in that email. You type that code in, hit next. On this screen here, it asks for the employee ID, which you also received in your email, your last name and your date of birth, and that's so we can authorize you. Hit next. There is one other screen we're not showing, and that's basically just a password and a confirmation password, and then a recovery question and answer. Once all that information is validated and you're authorized to use ESS, then you're ready to start the application using the dashboard. And we'll show that next. The dashboard allows you to view critical information quickly. For example, timesheets, pay statements, and your schedule. If we had messages, you would see messages here, and time off would be on this corner as well. The sections are dependent upon workforce usage. So if you're not using workforce payroll, then you wouldn't be able to see pay statements because you don't have the back-end data to support it. The same thing as if you're not using labor scheduler, then you're not able to see your schedule. The menu on the right is a list of available functions. The one that says messages, this one's actually appearing here because we're actively working on messages right now. And so on the screenshot that we have, it shows up. The general release version does not have messages yet. And we'll discuss messages later. Okay, so we've installed the app, we've self-registered, we've made it to the dashboard. Let's start digging into some of those features. Scheduling. As I mentioned previously, schedules is 2 parts. There's my schedule, and then there's also site schedules. We're going to discuss my schedule now and site schedules in a few minutes. My schedule is accessed either through the menu or through the dashboard. Let's talk about what this screen is providing to you. So on your schedule, you can see this week's schedule. It starts with Sunday through Saturday. You can go forward and back through previous weeks or next week, future weeks. There are different colors that differentiate the shifts that you're working. The gray colors are those that have already passed. This orange color is your current shift. And then the blue colors are your future shifts. You control these shifts through that admin portal. You control the colors through the admin portal, excuse me. To the right of the shift schedule is the detailed shift view. So if I was to click on my schedule here from 6 to 12 a.m., then I would be able to see the managers that I can then contact if I need to, and the site that I'm working at. This comes handy if you're a borrowed employee and you need to find out where that site is. If you clicked here, you could go and see the address. You could call the store to find out how to get there. You can call the managers if you needed to. We also have this handy little icon here, which is a map location. If you clicked on that, then your favorite map application would pop up and it would show you directions. And so you could find directions to get to that store. Oops, a little bit too far. Adaptive display. A quick note, the display is adaptive. This image just shows how the app uses all the available real estate. I know there are some apps where if you download them and they give you a phone view and then you put it on your iPad, you just have that phone view, but it's just a bigger picture of it. We've actually are using the complete real estate on your tablet when it's available and then condensing it when it's just on a mobile app. Site schedules, this was the second of the two schedules. Site schedules can be accessed in two ways. One is from the main menu and the other one is from shift detail. I didn't show you that earlier on shift detail because the screen I had didn't actually have the link. But when we were looking at that site, there would be another link there, and there is on the general release, where if you clicked on it, you can get to this screen as well. Site schedules is only available when using labor schedule. This is because the information you see comes from a published schedule. When you first arrive on the screen, your current schedule, your current shift is highlighted. So for this person, it's highlighted right there. You also see here the coworkers. You can view coworkers by work type. So you have cashier, baker, manager on duty. These are configured within labor scheduler. You can see events that are happening. Maybe you have a dairy delivery that day, or there's some special event happening, a football game, something like that. You can see those events, and that's entered through workforce site calendars. You can look at other stores and view their work types. You can select a specific day. This is a drop down per day. You can select a specific week. Let's see this in action. And what I'm going to show here on this video is just this accordion style. We'll see more of this in a little bit on a different video, but let's go ahead and watch this video. And when I created this video, I gave myself 5 seconds in between tagging each field. And I say seconds, I counted to 5 and I clicked assistant manager, and then I counted to 5 and clicked drive through. And then counted to 5 and click clerk again, just so you can see how this works. The videos might show this two icons over here. This is just from RingCentral when I did the recording. That's not part of the app. Let's continue. One of the other great features with site schedules is the ability to see unscheduled coworkers and their details. This gives the employees the flexibility and information they need to find someone to cover their shift in case the need arises, which of course, as a manager, that makes sure all your shifts are covered. You can easily find someone when you click the non-scheduled. The employees that aren't scheduled for that shift appear on the right. If you click on one of those, then their contact information appears. And we'll discuss contact information a little bit too, as far as the opt-in and opt-out of this information there. Let's roll this video and see how this piece works. So again, my little 5-second delay before I click on the shift. Excuse me, I clicked on non-schedule. So these are the non-scheduled. Then I clicked on Kathy. Let's see. Kathy appears. And there's her information. If I was to click the phone, it would call her. If I was to click this email tag, then it would send her an email. Okay, let's move on to timesheets. You can access timesheets either by the main menu or via the dashboard. Remember, we saw timesheets on the dashboard there. Let's do a quick review of the layout and then of its functions. So starting at the top, again, you have this week selector, so you can select forward and backward through the weeks. You have a status bar. That's going to become important here in a minute. The days of the week, we're starting you with Sunday through Saturday. And then for each work and site, so this is the work type, whether you work clerk, drive-through, assistant manager, whatever those work types might be, and then the site that you work them at. The hours, these are the total hours which are accumulated from your time punches. And then you can also enter tips. If you have tips to enter, we do have a totals bar that totals all this information up, including the tips. And at the bottom, you can report an issue. If you see an issue with your timesheet, maybe there was some missed time, and so it's not reporting all your hours, you can report that to your manager, and we'll review that in a little bit. Or you can sign your timesheet if it's ready to sign. This little icon means that a modification was made, and we'll see this here in a little bit. The other neat feature that we have here is the ability to send your timesheet to yourself. You can email it with this icon here. In addition to viewing the timesheet, you can drill in and see actual time punches. The time punches normally would come from Time Clock or Site Portal. Those are two other products that we have. We can't see down here where it says, this says hide modifications. Down here would say show modification, and this is basically the log of when your timesheet was changed, so the employee can see who changed it and what it was that they changed. But we'll see that on when we watch this video here. So let's see that. So it's actually selecting this Wednesday, which had 2 work shifts, clerk and drive-through. At the bottom, the show modifications is selected, and it shows the administrator had actually made changes to the timesheet, and then they can click to hide it. And then they can click back to get back to their timesheet. Okay, let's go forward. So we discussed the buttons at the bottom that were to report an issue and sign a timesheet. So on the left side, you see the signed timesheet. So if you clicked on signed timesheet, this is what you would see. There is some custom confirmation text. You create this text within Workforce configuration. So it's whatever text you want it to be. In this case here, it's set up as I have reviewed this timesheet and I agree that it is true and complete. You could add more to it, less to it. If you want your signed timesheet sent to you, you can click on this checkbox and have it sent. If that's all you require, then you can just hit sign, and now your timesheet is signed. If you did have an issue with your timesheet and you wanted to report it, then you would hit the report an issue. It would show you this page. Use your keypad to enter whatever that message might be that you want the manager to see and submit it, and he would receive it. And you can make corrections to your timesheet if need be. One final look at timesheets. There's that status bar I mentioned earlier. I just wanted to briefly give you the other statuses that you would see in here. See open, you can see waiting on manager, ready to sign, paycheck is being calculated, submitted for payment, and paid. When you do sign the timesheet, then you will see at the bottom here, it will show signed, and it will have the date and time. So you know if this timesheet was signed. Let's move forward and let's review pay statements. So pay statements can be accessed either by the main menu or via the dashboard. The first thing you'll notice is this pie chart with a breakdown of your payment. You can select payments by period up here. You can email your full detailed pay statement. That's what this email does. Down here, this link allows you to view your pay statement. This is the same pay statement for those that already have PDI Workforce. It's the same statement that you would normally send to them. They can see the statement here on their phone or on their iPad. Again, when you click on pay statements, you get to this page here. I'm going to go ahead and start this video so we can watch how we access this screen and some of the abilities that it has. Again, pay statements was selected. In this case here, we had taxes, deductions, and tips. So they're all reflected here on this pie chart. I believe the next thing we hit is the pay statement. So this is the pay statement. And of course, you can use your fingers and zoom in on it. So this was taken off of my phone. Don't worry, this is just a demo pay statement. None of it's really valid. And then, of course, you can email that pay statement to yourself. And if you say yes, then it sends the pay statement to your email address, which the system already knows because you use that email address to log into it. And I think I'm waiting for one more notification to show up. And there it is. Just letting you know that it was emailed to you. Let's watch another video. This time we're going to watch the same scenario, but only on the iPad. This iPad has the general release version, so it doesn't have the messages on it. So again, we would click Pay Statements. We get the same breakdown. We're going to click the View Pay Statement for full details. Of course, this one's much easier to read on a larger iPad versus a phone. And then we're going to email it. And if we click yes, then we see the notification. So just so you know, this is run on the iPad. The phone is being run off of an Android. So it is flexible to be able to run on either one. Moving on to My Profile. So My Profile can be accessed from the main menu and by selecting your profile image on the top right. So here you see Jennifer. That's her image. If you clicked on that anywhere within the app where the image shows, or if you don't have your image uploaded, then it would just show your first and last initial. But if you click on that section, you can get to My Profile, or if you went through the menu. I think I forgot to describe this earlier, but this hamburger icon is the menu. I did want to mention on this screen here, there is one other addition that's in the general release, and that is the ability to enter a nickname. So you can type in your nickname, you can have your phone number updated. You can't update your email address, that's read-only, and same as your permanent address, that's read-only, and this is mainly for payroll tax requirements for the address there. There are checkboxes here that allow you to have your contact information shown on any of the screens. So there is a configuration globally in WF-config where you can turn it on and off for employees to actually show their email and phone numbers, or just managers to show it. But no matter how those settings are, these settings will override those. So if you do turn it on and say all employees can share their contact information, and then as an employee you don't want to share your email or you don't want to share your phone number, you do have the ability to turn that off. So you can opt in and out of that. There was 2 tabs to this. If you click on the second tab, the emergency contact, then this is all your emergency contact information, and you have full edit-in abilities on this page, so you can type in everything that you need to and save it, and it goes back into the workforce database. That was the end of the current features, but before we move on to upcoming features, I want to discuss access after separation. So if you have an employee that is separated from the company and they're using the app, then they can still access these features, My Profile, pay statements, and timesheets until June 30th of the next year. Now, there is one other control that you can set if you really don't want them to see any of this. You can set it up within workforce employee. There's you can deauthorize them and then they can't see anything. But otherwise, if you want them to be able to go back to their pay statements to download those, you know, to email them to themselves or to sign their last timesheet or maybe update their phone number and contact information so that way you can get a hold of them later, you can give them access until the 30th of the next following year. There are some features that are restricted once they're separated. It's My Schedules, Site Schedules, Time Off, Employee Directory, and Messages. Cool. Let's go ahead and move on to future capabilities. Time Off will be accessed from the main menu via the dashboard. Well, from the main menu or via the dashboard. As an employee, you'll be able to submit your request for time off. The manager will be able to approve it and deny it. If he needs to deny it, the approved request will automatically post it to your timesheet. On the right side over here, I just wanted to show you the different types of time off that you might have. You might have your primary one located on top, which could give you all your balances. I think that might be a little hard to read, but that's what it's showing, your current, your scheduled, and your available balances. You might have other time off types like for tracking sick leave, maybe jury duty, other things like that. If you did send in a time off request, then you can see the status of those at the bottom here. The green color says approved. The orange looking color says pending. And if it was rejected, then it would be a red color that says rejected. I'm not showing the historical activity screen, but there is the ability to see your historical activity as far as what you've accrued, what your balances are, and things like that. Let's move on to Employee Directory. Employee Directory is like a phone book of your company. Of course, most people these days have not seen a phone book in a while, so think of it more as a contact list. You can view your workers, your coworkers by home site. You can select the sites, and then you see your workers. You can sort them by name or by role. When you click on them, it gives you their contact information, and of course, just a reminder that the coworkers can opt in or out for you to be able to see this information. If they opted in, again, you can click the icon, and if you're on your phone, it will automatically call them, and you can email them as well. Okay, one last feature, and that's messages. So messages can be accessed from the main menu and via the dashboard. And messages is a built-in communication tool. For those of you that have Time Clock and Site Portal, then you're already familiar with messages or messaging. This just brings the tool into the hands of your employee wherever they may be. With messages, you have an inbox. You have a sent and a deleted. These are 3 different folders. After reading a message, you can forward the message to yourself. This is an internal messaging system. So if you want to send it to your email, then with this icon here, you can go ahead and forward that to your email. When you do see an acknowledge button for a message that you're reviewing, this is because the manager has required it, meaning he wants you to actually read this message and then acknowledge that you have read it. After composing an email, you can send it to multiple recipients. You can add attachments. If you are the manager, as I described, you have the ability to require the acknowledgement. You can also require a read receipt. I think most of you are familiar with that, where once they read it, then you actually get a receipt coming back to you. Mass editing is available, where you can select multiple messages and mark them as read, and as delete. Underneath this cancel button is really an edit button. When you click edit, it converts to cancel. But when you click edit, it gives you the check marks, the check boxes where you can go through and check and basically mass mark them as read and delete it. I did forget to mention that messages will be available mid-summer. So a lot of these screens here are actually older, but new screens are being written currently and should be available in midsummer. I think I need to also tell you about time off. Time off will be towards the end of the year, probably either the end of the year or early on in the first quarter of next year. And employee directory that we discussed earlier looks like it's going to be in 2021, maybe close to the end of the first quarter. Sorry, I distracted from that. I just remembered that I needed to let you know that. The last piece here is just showing you the navigation, that when you click the drop down, you see the inbox, the sent, and deleted folders. And when you pick, for instance, the sent, then you can see all the information, all the messages that you've sent. If you'd like to delete it, then you'd see your deleted ones. Well, that wraps up the upcoming features. We should be ready for questions now. I want to thank you all for attending, and I hope this presentation was informative and has given you an insight to what to expect from employee self-service. I'd also like to thank Courtney, Allison, and Brian for their tremendous help in hosting this webinar. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and Brian, do you have any questions?
Thanks, Martin. Yeah, we did have a few questions come through. So the first one that we got was from Kathy, asking about if they have a different week schedule where it runs Monday through Sunday or something like that. It'll show in the app based on their setup, just like it does within Workforce, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Wanted to clarify that. There were a couple of questions, I think, about next steps for getting this, and you're showing the slide right now. So what if I have questions about implementation or cost or whatever, then you can always reach out directly to me, or you can reach out to your sales rep if you know who that is. If not, then I can direct you to whoever it needs to be and start that conversation. And I don't see any other questions that have come through. So maybe just wait just a minute here in case anyone's quickly typing something. But if we don't see anything else, then
I'd say maybe I did a great job explaining it all.
Yep. Thanks, Martin. I'm not seeing anything else come through. So again, if you guys have any other questions or follow up, I know that our marketing folks will be sending out communications with a link to the recording and the materials that we reviewed today. And so feel free to either respond to them or reach out to me, my email address right there on the screen. So appreciate everyone for joining us today, and hopefully everyone's staying safe and healthy, and you have a great rest of the day. Thanks.